What's up, film buffs? It's Brian coming at you from Toxic Reviews, and today I am reviewing Malignant. Roll it. Madison is paralyzed by shocking visions of grisly murders, and her torment worsens as she discovers that these waking dreams are in fact terrifying realities. Malignant stars Annabelle Wallis, Maddie Hassan, and George Young, and is directed by James Wan and is now in theaters and HBO Max. James Wan has been around for a while. He first burst into the movie scene with his first major film, which was Saw, the original Saw in 2004, which was a pretty polarizing film, both from horror junkies and filmmakers alike. Because critics were like, and audiences were like, I was one of those, because I really liked Saw. James Wan, since that time, has become a master of horror. And some people may not agree, but in my opinion, he is a horror filmmaker. He's gone off into other genres. He takes his time with his horror films. He doesn't just make a horror film to make it. He actually has, you could see the craft in these films. If you've seen The Conjuring 1, The Conjuring 2, which is hands down one of my favorite horror films of all time, you'll see that he puts a lot of care into these films. He takes simple concepts like exorcisms or poltergeists, and he creates an environment, an atmosphere, and aesthetically pleases your eyes. That's he aesthetically pleases the audience, is what I wanted to say. In a time where movies are kind of just pushed out now on streaming or in the theaters just to make money, James Wan takes advantage of the power he has now in Hollywood. Because after he directed Furious 7 and Aquaman, which made over $1 billion, I'm sure they let him write something as crazy as this film, because it is a crazy film, and they just let him go nuts, which is great. I mean, to me, James Wan is in his element when he is directing horror, when he is creating horrific visions, and he not only has style, he has substance. You know, it's not just like style over substance in most of his stuff. I think he's a very good director. He takes care into his films, and you could see the care he takes into his films. You know, this film, Malignant, is definitely an homage to old Italian horror films, and you could see that in some of the scenes, especially some of actually most of the murder scenes that the killer entity, or whatever you want to call it, performs. The deaths and murders it performs. So I'm going to get into the negatives with this film first, because all in all, I did enjoy this film, and I was trying not to be biased as possible because I really do enjoy James Wan's films. But we're going to get into the negatives first, because I feel like we'll get them out of the way so this entire thing isn't negative. Number one, the main issue I had was the tone / genre, because it seemed like the film was kind of changing genres as you watched it. While I blame the marketing for this film, when you watch the marketing for this film, they say it's a new film from James Wan, it's super terrifying, it's going to scare the hell out of you. This film is not super scary. It's extremely entertaining, and it's creepy, and there's some scenes that kind of creep you out. You know, there's scenes that are really corny, or schlocky, I should say. There are some parts of the film that are pretty creepy. There are some that are filled with a bunch of action. And there's some that are pretty funny. I don't know if it was intentionally funny. The dialogue is very corny at times. There's dialogue at the end of the film. The very last line from Annabelle Wallis's character is really cheesy. The first scene sets it up kind of like a B movie, which, if it was James Wan's intention for this film to be B movie-like, then I get it. I totally get it. But I think he's competent of a director enough that I think he did mean this film to be a type of B-movie Italian horror homage. Because there's a lot of stuff in here where it's like, I think he would have caught it. And then once you see the ending with who the killer is and what it is, I'm not going to give it away. It's really out there. It's out there. But it's crazy enough to really, really like it because it goes in a way where it's just totally crazy. You know, and what I mean by how another reason why the tone is kind of all over the place is because you have, like, even at the end of the film, you have a scene where she's in jail, she's in a holding cell, and there's a bunch of women, convicts around her, and they all look like they're from different eras. You know, you have a woman with a huge afro that looks like she's in a 70s outfit. And you have another woman that has like a mullet. And it seems like they all look like they're from a different time frame. And that's a really fun and insane scene towards the end. But that being said, it's like, it's kind of, I don't know what James Wan meant by doing some of these things. I know he's not bad with, his films don't have bad dialogue. So why some of the bad dialogue was in there, I think it was possibly intentional. Because it's sometimes the film is borderline parody, you know, because it's supposed to scare you, but then you have certain things like dialogue like that kind of doesn't take you out, because I was entertained the entire time. That's the major issue I have with the film. You know, some cheesy dialogue here or there, the tone and the genre kind of being all over the place, but it's still not enough to make me dislike this film whatsoever. Annabelle Wallis is fantastic. Annabelle Wallis is actually from the first Annabelle film, ironically, and I thought she was really good in that film. She does a great job in this film. Her performance is extremely believable. It's terrifying. It is gut-wrenching. It's sad. She's very emotive. So she did a fantastic job. George Young is very good as the main investigator, and so is Nicole Brianna White. She was very entertaining as well. She is his partner, the cop partner duo. But the other performances are kind of give or take, especially when you see the first part of the film. That's why I said I'm not sure if this was intentional, because some of the acting, I don't know if it's the bad line delivery from them or if it's just a bad script and they were told to, not a bad script, but like some bad dialogue for them to say it this way, and it's just awkward to say it. The camera work in this film and the music work hand in hand to make this film very, very not boring. I was not bored once. James Wan really likes wide shots, and you could tell in this film there's a police precinct that's so wide. It's such a wide shot. It almost looks like a Victorian ballroom almost or something. You know, the police precinct was shot wide because there's a huge action scene in there. Is it out there and is it crazy, the action scene? Yeah. Does it make sense? Not too much, but it's extremely entertaining. And then there's wide shots inside of the houses that you have, you know, the main house that Annabelle Wallis lives in. It doesn't even look that big from the outside, but when you're in the inside, it's gigantic. And the reason why I love when he shoots wide like this, it's because you have this wide scene where you have stairs here, you have an opening here with a door, front door is this way, you see the TV. The reason why I love this is because you don't know where the threat is where it's going to come from. Is it going to come from this way? Is it going to come from this way or this way? He doesn't close it in like this, forcing you to say, oh, okay, it's either in front of him or the camera's going to come back and it's in back of him. That's boring. It's been done over and over again. You know, when he has these wide shots, you have no idea where the threat's going to come from. And, you know, are there some jump scares in this? Yeah, but it's not overbearing. So the entire film has a very good soundtrack. It's kind of like this 80s techno-ish vibe, but then little spurts of Saw in there, and you could hear a little tidbit of something that sounds like that famous Saw theme. So I love the music. It plays basically throughout. They have music that plays throughout, but with the camera work, they work hand in hand. This soundtrack and the camera work so well. Technically, aesthetically, everything is done so well. But the premise and the synopsis is nuts. It's nuts. When you find out stuff at the end, you're either gonna, I kind of laughed out loud, but I loved that because it was like, what the hell? And then I'm like, I think I'm digging this. The premise of this film would have been great for someone like Sam Raimi, you know, the director of Evil Dead and Drag Me to Hell. You know, he probably would do, and he's also director of Spider-Man 1, 2, and 3, and with Tobey Maguire. So he's really good at balancing the very craziness of a funny, insane horror film. I mean, he created the character of Ash, so he can't go wrong with that. Like I said earlier, it's not really that scary of a film. But again, it's because the genre's all over the place. You know, you have crazy action scenes that looks like it's sometimes out of like a Marvel film. Honestly, like there's this whole like action scene where they're in the underground of Seattle, I believe, which I didn't even know existed. Apparently there was, you know, Seattle was built on top of old Seattle or something. It's insane. And there's some great action scenes. And, you know, I was watching and I'm like, this is super entertaining. But there's certain things that you see that, you know, James Wan is very particular on things that he does when he directs. There are certain things that are happening, like with the killer, and that you really don't understand why. So then at the end, you're like, oh, I see what you did. And I don't know if I like it or not. I did. I liked it. I liked it a lot. The killer knows how to kill people in violent ways, very violent, and it's glorious. It's entertaining. It's so well done, so well choreographed. So I can't say it's not good because it was super entertaining. So I would recommend this film. I enjoyed Malignant a lot. It's nice to see James Wan back in his element of horror, but then taking it a different way. Instead of just being straight up terrifying and like a slow burn, he took a very strange and out there concept and created a very likable, non-boring film that is technically well done in every way, except some of the dialogue. Otherwise, check this out in the theater or HBO Max. I'm going to give Malignant a rating of... Well, film buffs, that was my review of Malignant. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate all your time. If you like this video, please like, subscribe, and share to catch me every time I'm on air, and hit that notification button to know exactly when I'm on air. I hope you all have a great week. Adios.